Yes, very straightforwardly, Mr. President. I'm sure you would have seen Tibo Nagy tweet, and you probably would have read the reactions and watched some of the programs we've had on TV on issues relating to this. How do you respond to statements from a reputable diplomat like Tibo Nagy, who suggests that the UN General Assembly Resolution 1608 that holds a very strong position in our argument or regarding Ambazonia is not dependable, not enforceable. He even says that not even the United Nations can compel La République du Cameroon to respect it. What do you think?
Yes, um, the only thing I can say when a senior diplomat that I respect, like Mr. Tibo Nagy, making an opinion on X on an issue like this, the only thing I can say is that he has been consistent. He has not said anything new. Listen, I read that tweet again, and let me read it again so that I don't, we understand what he said. He said, on Amazonia, and some folks still believing in UN Resolution 1608 happening. Then he says, sorry, let's be real. So he's talking about, he's trying to castigate those who are still believing. So he is not questioning the validity of Resolution 1608. He's not questioning uh, the resolution in itself. There is rather questioning why we should still believe in it. So that's an indictment on the United Nations as a system. It's an indictment because he seems to be drawing the conclusion that the UN resolutions are just a formality, that the UN as an institution that is supposed to maintain peace and security amongst nations is a failed mission. It's on a failed mission that and relying on the United Nations to do it is a waste of time. Because everything he proposed as an alternative makes the United Nations irrelevant, completely irrelevant as far as the achieving peace and security in Amazonia is concerned. If that is the same prescription to every other conflict and every other nation, then what's the use of the United Nations? So the principal question is, are United Nations resolution truly just a formality? And is that institution just for, is it a formality? When it comes to your intro, where you said that United Nations resolutions are supposed to be uh, they don't have any legal, they are not legally binding General Assembly resolutions. No, General Assembly does a lot of things. The independence nations are granted independence by the General Assembly. That is how every other nation was granted independence. So not every resolution from the General Assembly is not will be considered as non-binding or not having the force of law. If so, then the boundary between nations and the status of independence granted to nations will also be considered non-binding. The truth is that there is no resolution of the United Nations that can force a country to do anything, just like there is no law that can force people to do the right thing. But law enforcement can cause people to do the right thing. So any resolution the United Nations chooses to enforce, they know what to do. That's when the Security Council will pass a resolution which will require the nations to put together a force in order to uh, bring the parties to compliance or make sure that that resolution is enforced. So here is a world where we are being told by a senior diplomat that the United Nations will always pick and choose what to enforce and what not to enforce. So for me, I see it as an indictment of the UN system because, and number two, he has always not been for this resolution from the beginning, that we should not pass through the route of the resolution 1608. But let me say this: without resolution 1608, we will not have the air of legitimacy we have, even to talk about anything, even to have a space within the international sphere to articulate our problem, even to be given the attention that we now have. Without resolution 1608, our case would be so unjustified that it would just be another case of secession that no one will be willing to listen to us. We are where we are without any false of pretense. It is because of the strength of our argument. And it is based on a resolution which is advising those who are still believing in it to stop believing in it. And let me say this: the resolution 1608 makes our problem an international problem. So anyone who has been preaching an internal fix, who tells you forget about the resolution 1608, is telling you in another, in another word that please, as I told you before, this requires an internal fix. Don't make it international. That that the problem, the conflict is an international conflict because it involves two countries. I don't know if I should just go on. There are. Let me give you resolution 1608, paragraph section 15. What was it titled? Let me give you the title of that resolution. It was titled "The Future of the Trust Territory of the Cameroons under the United Kingdom Administration." That is the title of it, "The Future." So are we saying that the United Nations gathered to pass a resolution which had no legal force and was never going to be implemented, was just a formality, and he had to talk about the future of a people? That's the failure to be ascribed to the world body by my respected diplomat. And you see, it was also titled, the subtitle, which you found in the reading as you read, as "the resolution to terminate the trustee agreement between the United Nations and Britain." There was a trusteeship agreement that was signed between uh, uh, 1946 between United Nations and Britain to administer this territory. This is a resolution to end that trusteeship agreement. If we say it doesn't have the force of law and cannot be enforced by the world body, it was just a declaration, and a non-binding declaration. Then tell me which other country's independence is non-binding if ours was not binding and is not enforceable. Should any other country stand on for the fact that they were granted independence if we will not stand for that? If we will stop believing in that resolution, then we should stop believing in the United Nations. So that is what it is. It is a resolution to terminate the trusteeship agreement. And he was talking about our future after the termination of our agreement. And everything that was prescribed in that resolution, was it just a formality or it was prescribed to be fulfilled? And if it is not fulfilled, can the United Nations, does it have the power of reviewing its own resolutions? If it has the power of enforcing its resolution, doesn't it have power to look into its own resolution and the application or the implementation of its own resolutions? When somebody says we should stop believing in them, again, it sounds like an indictment on their failure, the failure of the international system. It's not that the resolution was of no consequence. No.